So hello and welcome to the Happiness Telesummit. My name is Erica Glessing. I'm the host and I'm really interested in activating this happiness that you have inside you. So I'm interested in reaching inside of you and bringing this happiness up to the surface. And I have a beautiful guest with me today, Cory Michelle.
Hi.
Cory Michelle is an author in one of my new books called The Energy of Receiving, which is already, I'm reading it too much, so it's already kind of getting dog-eared. Cory Michelle has an elegance with energy and space. Her intuitive self dives into the depth of an issue to unlock it, and even in unrelated places, and this causes total change. In this particular interview, I feel really joyful because I've personally witnessed Cory's transformation over the last few years, and it's just been astounding. And I feel like people say, who would you choose to learn something from? And honestly, if you wanted to learn happiness, who better than a truly happy person?
Right?
So Cory's going to share with us some tools and some teachings, and we're just going to kind of walk through, and I'd like to ask you to listen a little bit more differently than perhaps you normally do and really feel the energy and see if you can't just get some of the downloads of the energy without really even trying. So welcome, Cory.
Thank you so much, Erica. Yeah, I am totally enjoying the book as well. And thank you so much for putting it together and putting this together. And let's have some fun.
I know. So tell me, like, if I wake up and I'm just in a really deep, crunchy, icky blue mood, let's just jump into the guts of it. What can I do?
Oh, gosh. So if you're waking up in a yucky, gloomy mood, then the first question I always ask, well, first of all, everything that I teach, I've actually either done or do in particular situations. So if I wake up in a yucky mood, my first thing I ask is, whose is this? Who does this belong to? Is this even mine? Because a lot of times that'll take a large chunk, if not all of it, out of your universe. And so you can actually find the energy of you again. Because it's like, if you're slimed by everybody else's stuff, so say something happened in another part of the world, or you went to a bar last night, or it's Monday, and you're feeling the everybody hates Monday energy. Like, and if you're just happen to be slimed by that particular day, then it's not yours. It's not really your job to work through everybody else's stuff, right? Like, that would be a lot of extra work that's not really required. So I like to just say, hey, return all everything that's not mine, return it all to center with consciousness. Where am I? And then usually my body relaxes and I'm like, oh. And I can just kind of breathe into my body, say hi to my body, be like, hi, body.
One of the first tools that I learned, Cory, I got as a free gift on your website, which is right there in front of people. And it was generative questions to start the day. So why don't you tell us a little bit about what that means and just share with us, because I think you just started with it's not, what's mine, what's not mine. But then maybe just tell us about that generative questions, because that's really a powerful tool.
Yeah, the generative questions are amazing. The first time that I started to acknowledge what generative energy was, because generative energy is kind of a mouthful, right? Like, what is generative energy? Well, I like to think about it like a generative energy and generative question. Like, you're plugging into a generator, something that's giving you energy. It's like, how much of the time, Erica, are we just giving, and we're the generators? Right? We're the generators of our businesses. We're the generators at our jobs. We're the generators with our families. We're the generators in our relationships. We're the generators everywhere, right? And what are we receiving that's generating us? Like, where's our power source, right? And so I first realized this generative energy, which is going to lead into the generative questions, is when I did, well, I'm just going to say what I did. So I came back from a really long trip home. I got like 3 days of only like 3 hours of sleep. And then I had a horrible flight back from Costa Rica, which ended up having a layover in Houston where there was bugs in the bed. And I fly home to Denver at 7 a.m. And I have a big event where there's 125 people coming that night. So I was supposed to be back, Sunday night and have a good night's sleep and be able to do all my stuff.
Right.
Well, that didn't happen. I'm on the go, right? Because I had to get up at like 4:30 to get on the plane, got home at 7. And I'm like, noon comes and I was exhausted. So it's like, oh my God, I don't know what am I even going to be able to do this? And I get on the phone and I talked to 3 people in an hour, and all 3 of them I facilitated. I coached basically. And I got done and I went along my day and I ended up having plenty of energy. And even after the event, went on a date, and I think I crashed hard at midnight. But I woke up the next day and I was like, what the heck did I do different that gave me all that energy? Because I love asking questions of like, hey, what did I do different that really worked for me there? And it hit me. It was like those 3 people that I coached or I facilitated, and I got this rush of energy in my body, and I was like, holy cow, that's what generative energy is. So if I was just going and pushing all the energy out, then I would be depleted. But it was like, no, this thing that I chose actually gave me energy instead of me expending it all. And I was like, and I said, what's it going to take for me to facilitate more?
Wow.
And then the very next day, I got a call to facilitate a class out in Baltimore, and I wasn't even certified to facilitate it. And I said yes, and then I did what it took to have that, right? And then ever since then, my business has been created as an Access Consciousness certified facilitator, and now I facilitate all around the world. But the key is you choosing what is generative for you. And so these generative questions to the universe are the questions where they actually support you. It gives you energy. It actually opens doors of possibility. And so you can co-create your life without pushing, without struggling, without force, without trying to figure it all out or computate exactly how it's going to show up. So the generative questions are like, hey, what would it take to have more of this? Like if you feel happiness, energy in your body, in your world, like what's it going to take to have more of that? Or what I love the question, what contribution can I be that I truly be, right? And that's like with everything, right? I've got a million questions, but those are a couple that I started with. But that generative concept is really important because we don't think about it. Nobody thinks about what's giving you energy. We're thinking about, how much more can we give? So filling you up with the generative energy is really key to happiness, I think. My point of view.
I do too, and I love this. And the next question that's showing up for me, and I feel like part of what we're doing here is really fun because I think we're helping people. Here's the thing that's so wonderful about some of the tools of Access Consciousness that Cory's teaching is that you can keep learning them on different levels. And so even if you've already learned something, you can listen to it again and a different part of you will react. Or someone said something to me in the last call about how much money I'd get if I could take certain judgments of certain individuals. And I'd heard that a million times. And I went, yes, like I got it, like my body got it, like I got it differently. And the question I have for you that's showing up for me, I love how you talk about the body needing money. And a lot of the audience are light workers and teachers, and I would say our audience is going to be comprised of a lot of people who would be coaches or who would be facilitators who, you know what I mean? This is like our tribe. And so maybe if you could help unstick asking for money for what you do and just the whole thing that I've heard you teach. I love how you teach. Like, I guess it's kind of like elegance.
Yeah, so I'll start by saying that it was really, 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 really hard for me to ask for money 5 years ago. Like so much so that I had a lot of debt on credit cards, and I owed a bunch of people money for a business that I was running that could have been really, really prosperous and very big, but because I wasn't willing to receive, and I also wasn't confident in actually asking for money, and I didn't know how, like I was clueless, that, I created a lot of junk in my universe. I created a lot of scarcity and poverty, and I was surrounded by people who were also creating scarcity and poverty as well.
Right.
And the couple of things that I did to change it and that I love to talk about is when I realized that money was for my body and not for me as a being, I was like, holy cow, if money is not for me as a being, because I didn't care. Like, how many people out there you just don't care about money? You're like, why do we even have money? Can't we just, all get along, and can't we just all share?
Can't we just hold hands?
We might be interested in the zeitgeist and like creating this, utopian ideal out there. But like the reality is that your being, your infinite being, doesn't actually require money. If you're just an infinite being out there. No, you don't. You don't need money for anything. You just go and do and be and whatever you're doing out there, and you don't have a body. Our bodies in this particular reality, in this particular moment, this time, whatever, requires money for food, for shelter, for fun, for all sorts of things. And when I got that, I was like, oh my God, I have been denying my precious body all the things it would like because I didn't care about it. I didn't want it. Who cares? Who needs money? Right? And so I was struggling with money, right? So, and I heard recently Gary Douglas was talking about, who's the founder of Access, was talking about money, and the same thing happened to me, Erica, where I was like, oh, I've heard this stuff so many times, I've heard it a different way. But he's like, money isn't just about energy. It's like, money isn't about receiving. It's not just energy. He's like, money creates choices. So you have the amount of money that you're willing to have choice and choices. So the more money you have, the more choices you have, right? So if you have, infinite supply of money, billions of dollars, then you have ultimate choice. You have choice in everything in this reality. If you have limited cash flow, limited resources in the money department, then you have limited choices. You can't just pick up and go to Hawaii. You just can't. And not that that's a rightness or a wrongness. It's just the amount of money and what you're creating and generating over here, it dictates your choices and what's possible for you. And I heard that and I was like, even though I've completely outcreated myself, my debt's almost gone, and after just a few years, and I'm really choosing the life that I would like to be living, I was like, holy cow, there's still choices that I don't have. I couldn't buy an island if I wanted to. I couldn't donate a huge chunk of money to somewhere or create, a system out there in the world to help people right now. I'm not in that place, but what would it take? What would it take to have so much money that I could get an idea and then just go create it or have a team to implement it? Like, how could we use my brilliance and have a ton of money, not just for, the fun of it, but for creating more in the world? And so that put a whole new twist on it for me. I was like, wow. How much fun would that be to be like, hey, I got this idea. Can you guys go implement that? Okay, awesome. Here's the funds. Let's go. And then all of a sudden something else is created in the world. What would that be like?
I love that. And it's funny for me because this is an area that what I had chosen so much was to not be aware of it. Mm-hmm. So what I had chosen was basically, I can always make money. But I could never have money. So I could make money, not have it, make money, not have it. Right.
Yeah.
Sorry. So, as I started clearing things, I got present to when I'd go to the grocery store, I'd feel all this tension. I'd be like, I'm sucking up everyone's lack. I'm feeling everyone's fear. They can't afford everything they want as I'm walking through the grocery store. And so it was really fascinating to me. So yeah, I went and I'm just going to put a do not disturb on my Skype so it stops pinging me. So it was very fascinating because I sat there in that space, Cory, where I had been making breakthrough after breakthrough, and then I would still get stuck by really simple things of going through the grocery store. But I got okay with that. It was like, maybe this is a good time for you to talk about judgment and the tools you can use when you haven't gotten to, you were saying, I can't quite create a philanthropic foundation yet. or I can't quite do every single vehicle I want yet or whatever. So maybe just help us with a little bit of a judgment tool when we look at whatever that area of our life is and say, hey, could you be more? Like, you're more than you were, but could you be more?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I think the first judgment that pops up as we're talking about this, I can almost feel everybody.
I know. I could too. Right? Yeah, I could too. Yeah.
So, like, the first thing is all the judgments we have, that all of that stuff that we would really like to have is wrong, right? So some of the stuff I was making wrong was, Ferraris and Lamborghinis and all those cars that you pay hundreds of thousands of dollars. I had some point of view that was like, that's just a waste of money. Why would you ever spend that money on there when they're starving people in Africa? That was like stuck in my head somewhere, and that didn't even belong to me. So it's like, okay, let's get that out of my space. So it's like all the judgments and points of view that you have about what it is to be rich and wealthy, what it is to have a lot of money, that you are or aren't good with it, that you don't really need it, that you can do without, like you're trying to prove that you can actually do without it. And I just realized this a few months ago with myself, is that I was proving that I could create my whole life without credit, without good credit. And so I wasn't willing to even pay attention to it. And I had, I totally jacked it up a few years ago, and I was just ignoring it. And then now I'm like, wow, having credit or good credit would actually make my life so much easier. And I would actually be saving a lot of money. And I was like, whoa, like I was so proving that I was going to do it without credit. And I've built my whole business without credit. So yes, okay, good. I'm done with that. Thank you very much, Pot and Pock. And okay, cool. How can I leverage what's available? This reality, in my point of view, is just a big game. It's like you are playing Super Mario Brothers, and you've got this reality that is the Super Mario Brothers. Your target is to get to the top of the castle through all of these different, levels or whatever, and it's just for fun. And you go and you die and you learn something, and then you go and you die and you learn something, and then you make it through, and then you go over here. And it's like, that's how I see this life, is that anytime I make something significant, my whole world goes, and if I make it fun of like, hey, how can I play with this today? What joy can I bring to this? How much fun can I have with this? Are there any points of view that are in my world that aren't mine? Like, return all those to sender and really like be in the space of, okay, so if I'm just playing a game right now, what would I choose? If this is for fun, what would I choose? If I really wanted to go for it, what would I choose? But then the other thing I was feeling from wherever I was feeling it from is I can't have it. Like, I don't deserve it. I'm not worthy of it. That's not for me. I'm not that person. Right? My family wouldn't approve. Right? So those sorts of things I always look at of like, what is actually going on in your head? And those limitations, like you can use the Access Consciousness clearing statement, right, and clear them away, or return to sender is always a great one. And then the key, I think, one of the things that I like to do that really works for me is to really step into that energy of, okay, so move out the points of view and the judgments and the conclusions. Now, what would it be like to be living in $1 million home or a multi-million-dollar home? What would it be like to be driving a Lamborghini? And then feel that energy in your body. Like, receive the energy of it. And then say, yes, I'll have some of that.
Yes, I'll have some of that. I'm just going to practice.
I'll totally have it.
I'll have it. That brings me into the receiving book, where you talk about receiving hidden messages guiding your life is the name of your chapter in the book. Tell us a little bit about that and kind of what showed up for you as you were creating that piece.
Well, first of all, I asked, what can I create because I knew that there was other Access Consciousness facilitators, so I didn't want to duplicate, possibly the things that other people were saying. And I was just like, well, what contribution can I be here? And I think that's one thing that I do that might be a little bit different, or at least I say it in a different way, of that the universe is always giving you messages. And normally we're just not paying attention to them. And that's what I found in my journey and with so many of my clients is what you've been asking for is right there. And you're just not paying attention typically. So to start paying attention to these messages that the universe is giving you, that your seemingly random thoughts are giving you, is it a random thought or is it an awareness? Your space, your home, people will give you messages, even though it seems like, an answer from them or something like that. A lot of times there's like, wait a second, what are you talking about over there? And there might be an awareness or a message from the universe through somebody else. It's like the messages are everywhere all the time. There's always feedback coming into you. And if you were willing to receive it all, man, like what would that be like?
Tell me when, let's say you get a message like that you like something, like let's say it's a Lambo, or say it's something that really, and we were talking a little bit earlier about my own journey, that thing when you get the message that you go, how can I possibly ask for that? Like, how can I possibly ask for something that's so flippin', hairy, wild, amazing, joyful, like so out of the realm of anything that I've been able to have show up so far, right? Like, the audacity.
The audacity. Do you actually have the audacity to have it? Well, that's a great question. So it was, I guess it was last summer. I was facilitating, we got this penthouse. A friend of mine has this penthouse in Denver, and we were facilitating at his penthouse this class. And he just got a Lamborghini, an orange one. And I wasn't even paying attention to it. I was like, yeah, whatever. And then at the end of the class, he went downstairs to give somebody a ride. And I'm walking down the stairs, and I'm like, oh, well, this is just last summer. It's like, oh, well, maybe he'll let me sit in it. And then I thought, I listened to myself. Maybe he'll let me sit in it.
Yeah, right.
Why wouldn't I have him take me for a ride? Like, that is insane, but it's old stuff, right? And then I was like, wow. And then I realized in that moment, like, Lamborghinis were so far. I pushed Lamborghinis so far out of my universe that I wasn't even aware of them, let alone being willing to ask for a ride. So I get down there, and he just got back giving somebody else a ride. And obviously it was really fun for him because he's like, hey, who else can I take for a ride? Hey, can I have a ride? He's like, oh, yeah, get in. So I get in this hot orange Lamborghini, and we go down the street, and he steps on the gas, and we go from 0 to, I don't know, 5 million in like 2 seconds. And I was like, woo! I could not stop laughing for days because my body. And I was like, holy cow, I had pushed that out of my universe, and I wasn't willing to receive the joy that that car gave me in the 2-minute ride around the block. I was like, holy cow. So we got done, and I was like, I'm having that. I'll have more of that energy. That was freaking amazing. Thank you so much. I'm so grateful that I asked for that. And what else is possible here? Because if that's possible, what else can I have that gives me that energy? Because that's happiness, man. It's like,
Cory, I'm not done. I'm not done. Okay, I'm not done.
No. So what happened, or what showed up,
keep going.
what got created is a few months later, my man Candy and I were looking at possibly getting a new car, and I ended up on the lot. We were looking at like a Lexus because I love Lexuses, and I go, wait, what's this one over here? And I'm like, oh, what is that car? The car was like pulling me to it. It was like seducing me. And we get in, and Brian knew all about it, but I had no idea about the car except that the energy was like saying, come here, come play with me. So following the messages of the car, I get in the car, we take a test drive. Well, by the way, it goes 0 to 60 in 4 seconds. And step on the gas, I get that same energy running through my body. And I'm like, what? We end up buying this freaking car. It's a race car. It's actually like a real race car.
Oh my gosh.
I mean, it was beautiful, this car. And I was like, oh my God, would not have even been willing to entertain the idea if I hadn't have already had that whole choice in asking for more.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, because there was something in that story where there was something in that, allowing yourself, like, when you have those moments of clarity and you're really into something, like for me, it's like some music that just like, I love certain music and certain poems. And there's certain lyrics and certain music and certain poems. It's just like sets me on fire, like on fire. Like when I'm either singing them, and I can't really sing, but when I'm like being in the lyric, it's like, I know I can't sing, but it's all right. I'm good. I can write. I can write. So now I have this thing and I feel it. Okay, Cory. So take me there, because here it is. I feel this thing. And for years I wrote as a news reporter, which is the way I could get paid using my gift. But when I feel those poems, when I feel those lyrics, when I'm in a song, I'm on fire. And then like my daily waking chemistry happens. I go back to work. I go back to, and I love my work. I'm blessed. I love building books, but there's something that happens for me in the songs that's different. It's like, it's a quality of being. And then what?
Yeah. Awesome. Okay. So so when you're in that sort of expanded space, something is different in your body, chemicals, brain waves, all that stuff. So what if you actually asked the questions of like what you'd like to have when you're in that energy, when you're in that space?
Right. Because instead I go to the conclusion of why am I wanting this?
Yeah.
Why am I picturing myself at the damn Grammys? Check me out. I'll be there.
Well, it's like, why? It's like, ask what's that? What would it be like to have that? And I love the what would it take, because the what would it take, you're actually asking for the messages from the universe to show you what it would take, right? And then what's it going to be like? It activates your whole body, and your body goes, oh, this is what it's going to be like, boom. And then when you have that frequency, that resonance of what it's going to be like, then it can show up. Because you're asking for it, and your body goes, oh, I'll have that, okay. And then if you're willing, you can allow your body to start creating that with you or for you.
You know, I have to tell you the funniest story is I was feeling that feeling at one point. The next day, one of my interviews, and she's on this happiness Telesummit, she had been at the Grammys the night before I interviewed her.
Nice. No, you're not potent at all. You can't create it.
Thank you, Cory Michelle. That's so beautiful. I'd like to tune in now just to hear from our listeners, even though this is pre-recorded. Luckily, both Cory and I are wicked intuitives. So let's see if another question can show up from the future listeners of this Telesummit. And I'm you know what I'm getting? I'm getting a really dense energy around, and I don't know what it was that brought it up. It was the going to work energy versus doing what you love energy. So do you want to talk about that a little bit?
Totally. Okay. So this is where people totally screw themselves. Okay. I mean, it is one of the greatest places people are just screwing themselves. So you are aware that you'd like to be doing something else, or you're aware that the job that you're doing or whatever isn't quite what you'd like to be doing, right? Then it's like we start building upon and having all these points of view of like, it's not right, something's wrong, I don't know what I want to do, it's going to take so much time, and point of view after point of view after point of view, after conclusion, after judgment, and why am I not doing it? I was just talking to one of my clients, a new client last week, and she's like, I just don't have the time, and then I just don't want to. And because she's just doing all of these other things. And I was like, okay, well, that's something to look at. Like, do you really want to create this? And when we have all these points of view, oh, there's not enough time, I don't have enough resources, blah, 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 then basically you are creating a whole bunch of barriers that you're unwilling to go around. Okay? Now, there's that, but then there's also the choice of choosing happiness in any day, in any moment.
Love
So
it.
if you could bring your happiness to the table, like what if you could actually be happy and be joyful at your job, even though you know that it's going to change or you'd like it to change? Because happiness is just a choice, and it starts from within. Happiness is not indicated for something outside of you, like looking for someone else to make you happy. Because I'll tell you what right now, and I know, Erica, you know this, and every other entrepreneur knows this, having your own business and doing what you love has huge rewards, but it's not like usually very easy in some parts of it, right? Like there is a lot of you being courageous and a lot of you stepping up, and sometimes it's doing, doing what it takes to create the life that you'd like to have. It's a totally different thing than going to a 9-to-5. So if you're doing that, I really recommend getting a coach, a good coach that can help you go through that process faster. If you're doing it on your own, sometimes you just hit brick wall and you want to give up. And if you have somebody there supporting you, you can really go, okay, how do I get through this with ease? Instead of just, thinking that, creating more seemingly failures to go back to your job.
Right. And I really have so much to weigh in on this because I've done this journey. And one of the things that really helped me, besides having coaching, which I think is vital, but the other piece for me was really looking at, there's a couple things that Cory teaches that were so vital. One was generative questions that you ask your business to ask of you. And I'm going to let you answer that one because I love what you teach in that. It's just really potent. Another one was, what are the things that make the money, and structuring them into every week. Mm-hmm. Instead of feeling like I'm going to make money when I get desperate, or I'm going to make money when I have to do this, or but putting that sort of money making into the business in a way that just is like a structured part of each week. And I don't do structure well, but it was like, what if I just say, okay, these activities will generate money, so let's just integrate them in instead of feeling just being a human doing. So those were some of the things that showed up. But I loved what you taught about, I think it was in one of your classes. I've taken classes from Cory before, as you can see. I'm like going through all these reels of listening to her. Business, what do you ask of me today? It was stuff like that.
Yeah, like what action can I take today to expand you right away? That's a great question to ask. So if you're just starting, you're like, hey, business, show me what you would like to be. Show me what actions I can take. And it's funny, with this particular client the other day, it was simply looking at what she's currently choosing in her life. And is there anything she's choosing that can actually move to the side for a little while so that she can start putting together a plan? So we started with literally like an hour to 2 hours a week, because that's all she had to dedicate to it. And the thing she was missing was a plan. Like she didn't know where she was going. And not that you need to know, but if you're feeling like stopped by everything, then like working with somebody and coming up with a plan of like, okay, where do I want to start? What are my ideas? Let's put this into play and let's look at what actions can I take. Like today, what action can I take today? What action can I take today? And that's like, talk about following the messages, being open to receive, and then choosing them when they show up. So just like when the energy of the energy of receiving book showed up for me when Erica invited me, I was like, man, I am freaking busy. It's like, oh my gosh, I don't know if I even have time to do this. I don't know if I have time to promote it. And then I just Erica continued to ask me, but I also just kept getting the energy of it. And I was like, okay, universe. And then one day I was like, business, show me what else I can choose to expand my reach. And then she pinged me because she's aware. And I was like, okay, I'll do the book. But it's like, if you can see, like, it doesn't make logical sense. Like, I don't have this, I don't have that. But then it's like when you open up to go, hey, wait, will this contribute to what I'm asking for? Yes? Okay. Well, okay, fine. I'll write a chapter. All right, good. I'll promote it. Okay, good. I'll do that. right?
Okay, good. Now you're a #1 best-selling author.
And I just asked for that. I said, what would it take to be a #1 bestseller?
And it became a #1 bestseller. And we actually, I have to say, Cory and another author, Rebecca, and I got together and asked the book. We did really what we preach, right? I mean, Cory did exactly what she preaches. And we asked the book what it wanted. And then that we created a Google Hangout out of the book launch.
Yeah. Yeah, that was super fun too. So, yeah, and it's like the messages when we're asking, it's like ask questions that create so much space. Like questions are creation, right? And then if we're talking about happiness, like it's like when you're asking a question versus coming to a conclusion, like how much more happiness is there? How much more joy is there? Like in the question versus the whatever conclusion you're trying to make up about whatever you're.
Well, we don't have that much time left, but I just have to ask you about the rock. So give us
this one.
So I loved it this year on Valentine's. I was on my social and noticed that Cory Michelle had gone from basically dating, online dating, joking about dating, talking about dating the same person in 27 different bodies. Tell us a little bit about that journey and just kind of the happiness that's shown up, and not from you have to have a relationship, but maybe just some of the ways that you shifted your energy in that space.
Yeah, totally. I became aware. I was really good single, really good single, and I became aware of an energy that was different. And I asked it a lot of questions. It's like, what is this? What do I do with it? Like, what, whatever. And I, through my asking questions in a longer story, I realized that there was someone else that would come into my life that us together would create more joy for both of us. And I was like, what? Is that possible? Relationships I know about are not joy expanding. They are joy contracting, and then everybody wants to leave. That was my experience and my point of view. Better to be single. And I played with the energy. And I kept asking it to show me more. And then the closer I got to embodying this energy and having this energy, I would notice when I would go on a date and I was like, oh, that is so not it. No, it was like so not it. It was so different, so not it. And then when I met Brian, who I called Man Candy, he was like, from the minute we met, it was like that energy. And I was like, what? And he moved in on the second date and we got engaged. And yeah, life is just, I laugh so much. Like if I could have abs of steel with how much I laugh, like I would have, we laugh daily, like uncontrollably about like the amount of joy that we be with and for each other is amazing. And so talk about happiness, geez, like people, if you're willing to have people contribute to you like that and you be the contribution for them, like holy cow, the whole planet would be laughing and happy and joyful.
I love it. I'm going to ask you one more really icky, sticky question, just because I can. And then we'll probably wrap it up for people and let them know how they can get in touch and work with you further and enjoy you more deeply. So one of the questions I get asked a lot teaching happiness is, gosh, Cory, I am so joyful. I wake up in such a good mood. I'm like rocking the planet. And you know me, I am. Like, I've walked this talk. I walk in the room somewhere. Let's say I used to work for this nonprofit. I'd walk in the door. It was like I'd be hit with like these waves of these people who were so unhappy. And I'd sit there and I'd be like, okay. And I know I'm a pain in the ass for them because I'm so damn happy. And clearly I don't work there anymore. But what can people do when there are people that are kind of, at a completely different wavelength than you are? What can you do different or experience in your life when that happens?
Yeah, okay, so this is such an awesome question. I ask what we call energy, space, and consciousness questions. So activating your energy, your space, and your consciousness for whatever it is you would like. So you can actually be the dominant energy in a space. And what you're doing when you walk into a room and you feel the heaviness of everyone else, and then you all of a sudden get grumpy or heavy or sad, then you're letting them be the dominant energy. So first of all, what would it take for you to be the dominant energy of you? And what energy, space, and consciousness can you be to be the most happy, joyful, exuberant, delicious, yummy, and sexy person in the room?
How does it get any better than that?
Why not? Why not have it? Come on, people.
I love it. Thank you so much for coming. And where else can we find out about you? What else can we learn from you? Tell us a little bit more.
Let's see here. So CoryMichelle.us is my main website. You can get the generative questions at the top there. And I'm sorry, Erica, I've forgotten what we talked about before. Did you want me to do an offer too or no?
No, I think for now, Cory, Michelle, what we want is just to hang out in your space. So maybe why don't you just tell us, like, April, May, June, do you have some things coming? There's a body of work on doors. They can get some free calls. Just kind of give us some juicy, yummy what's showing up.
The best and easiest thing to do is just get on my email list, because I send free stuff out all the time. When you sign up, you get a morning audio to get you into this space, like every day if you'd like to have that. And then you get a list of generative questions as well. And you'll be updated. I'm doing these brand new things called the Juicy Boost, which is like a semi-private facilitation on different topics, like increasing your fees, how to overcome fear in your business, stuff like that. And you'll be the first to be notified when we launch those. And I'm super excited because it's only 7 people on a particular topic. And so we're going to use the energy of everyone to clear like 10 times as much as we could just in a private session. So they're going to be really cool, and they're super inexpensive. So first thing, just go to the website and get your Juicy Life, Juicy Business Blueprint download and start there.
Yeah, and definitely jump on Cory Michelle's email list. It's a really fun place to get information about Cory Michelle. You'll find out when she's giving calls. You kind of get to be in her club. Definitely go sign up for that now. Just go do it. It doesn't cost you anything. And then you get to have so much fun with Cory Michelle like I do. Yay!
Oh, you know what one of the keys to happiness is, Erica?
What's that?
Is losing your mind.
Done.
Just like I just did. I couldn't even remember what we talked about before because I was so in the moment of happiness that it didn't even matter.
Well, I really feel like we did exactly. I'm really interested in activating happiness and to just waking up that little place in you that's saying it's possible. So maybe why don't you take us out with some questions people can ask themselves?
So, what can I choose to create more joy, happiness, and juiciness for me today is an awesome question. And I love asking the universe, universe, show me something joyful. And I love the word juicy because it juices me up. So universe, show me something juicy today. What would it take to have like a juicy, magical, happy, joyful day today? And I don't even ask those questions anymore. They're just the energy that I be mostly.
Thank you so much. Thanks for coming.
Thank you everyone for watching. Bye.
Thank you.